The piercing wail of emergency alarms cut through the quiet hum of Horizon 7's main engineering deck. Minho dropped his plasma torch and spun toward the massive holographic display that dominated the center of the room. Red warning lights cascaded across the three-dimensional map of the research station like falling stars. "What the hell?" he muttered, wiping grease from his hands as he rushed to the control panel. The numbers made his stomach drop. Power levels were plummeting across 7 different sections. Life support was failing on decks 12 through 18, and the quantum stabilizers that kept the station from tearing itself apart were fluctuating wildly. His communicator crackled to life. "Minho, get to the command center now!" Commander Gina's voice was tight with barely controlled panic. Minho grabbed his toolkit and sprinted through the corridors. The station shuddered around him, metal groaning under stresses it wasn't designed to handle. Emergency lighting flickered on and off, casting eerie shadows that danced across the walls. Other crew members rushed past him, their faces pale with fear. The command center was chaos. Alien crew members from a dozen different species worked frantically at their stations. The Zelkari communications officer's tentacles moved in a blur across her console while her large black eyes reflected the red warning lights. 2 Corvani engineers, their scaled skin gleaming with nervous sweat, argued in rapid clicks and whistles about evacuation protocols. "Report," Gina demanded as Minho entered. She stood at the central command station, her dark hair pulled back severely, her jaw set in determination. "It started 20 minutes ago," said Hyunwoo, the station's systems analyst. His fingers danced across a holographic keyboard as data streams flowed around him. Something triggered a cascade failure in the primary power grid. The fusion reactors are stable, but the distribution network is collapsing. Minho studied the readouts over Hyunwoo's shoulder. The pattern didn't make sense. These weren't random failures. Something was systematically shutting down the station's most critical systems in a specific sequence. "Commander," the Zelkari officer called out, her voice carrying the musical quality of her species. "The evacuation ships are requesting immediate departure clearance. Captain Thexmore says his vessel cannot wait much longer." Gina's hands clenched into fists. "Tell them they can leave if they want. We're not abandoning our people." "Gina, be reasonable," said Dr. Kesahai, the station's Corvani chief medical officer. His reptilian features showed genuine concern. "My scans indicate the lower sections will lose life support within the hour. If we don't evacuate now, we'll lose everyone." 200 researchers are trapped down there, Gina shot back. "The emergency blast doors sealed when the power grid failed. They can't get out on their own." Minho felt the weight of 200 lives pressing down on him. The lower sections housed the station's most important research labs, where scientists from across the galaxy worked on projects that could revolutionize space travel, medicine, and energy production. Brilliant minds from dozens of worlds, all depending on him to keep the lights on. "What about the emergency power?" he asked. "Already switched over," Hyunwoo replied, "but it's only designed to last 6 hours under normal conditions. With the power drain from the failing systems, we've got maybe 2 hours before everything goes dark." The station shuddered again, more violently this time. Through the viewport, Minho could see the evacuation ships pulling away from the docking ports. Sleek alien vessels with names he couldn't pronounce, carrying crews who had decided that discretion was the better part of valor. He couldn't blame them. The smart play was to cut losses and run. That's what the computer models would recommend. That's what the safety protocols demanded. But humans had never been particularly good at following the smart play. "I need to get down to the lower levels," Minho said. "If I can manually reroute power from the non-essential systems, maybe I can buy us enough time to get those doors open." Dr. Kesahai's scaled head tilted in confusion. "The corridors are depressurizing. Radiation levels are climbing. It's suicide." "Maybe for your species," Minho replied with a grin that held no humor. "But humans are stubborn that way." Gina caught his arm as he turned to leave. "Minho, I can't order you to do this. The risk is too high." He looked into her eyes and saw the same determination that had made her the youngest station commander in galactic history. She wasn't asking him to be a hero. She was asking him to be human. "You're not ordering me," he said. "I'm volunteering." As he headed for the emergency shaft that would take him to the failing sections, Minho could hear the alien crew members behind him, discussing the impossibility of his mission in their various languages. They had already calculated the odds, run the simulations, and concluded that success was statistically improbable, but they had forgotten one crucial variable in their equations. They had forgotten what humans could do when the impossible was the only option left. The emergency shaft felt like descending into the belly of a dying beast. Minho's boots clanged against metal rungs as he climbed down through the flickering. Emergency lighting. Above him, Dr. Hana followed closely, her breathing heavy in the thin air. Environmental suits holding steady, she reported through the comm system. But these readings don't look good, Minho. Radiation levels are spiking every few minutes. Minho paused at the junction for Deck 15. Through the small porthole, he could see twisted metal and sparking cables where the corridor had partially collapsed. We'll have to go around. The main shaft to the quantum core is blocked. They squeezed through a maintenance tunnel barely wide enough for human shoulders. The alien crew members who had designed this station were taller and thinner than humans. What seemed like spacious corridors to them felt cramped and claustrophobic to Minho and Hana. There, Hana pointed ahead. The core chamber. The quantum core sat at the heart of Horizon 7 like a technological jewel. It was a sphere of crystalline material about the size of a small house, suspended in the center of a vast chamber by invisible force fields. Normally it pulsed with a steady blue light that provided power to the entire station. Now it flickered between blue and angry red, throwing chaotic shadows across the walls. "Sweet mother of physics," Hana whispered. "It's completely unstable." Minho studied the alien control panels surrounding the core. The symbols and interfaces were designed for species with different hand structures and thought patterns. Where humans used simple switches and dials, the aliens had created complex holographic controls that responded to specific genetic markers and neural patterns. "The Corvani built this section," Hana explained, running her scanner over the nearest console. "Their technology relies on predetermined response matrices. Every possible scenario has a programmed solution, and none of those solutions are working," Minho observed. He could see status indicators that didn't need translation. Red meant bad in any language. A maintenance robot rolled past them, its 6 mechanical arms working frantically to repair damaged conduits. The robot was following its programming perfectly, trying to restore systems according to its built-in protocols. But every fix it made seemed to create 2 new problems. "The cascade failure is spreading faster than the automated systems can compensate," Hana said. "It's like trying to plug holes in a dam with your fingers." Minho knelt beside a pile of damaged components that had been ejected from various systems. Twisted metal, burned circuit boards, and crystalline memory cores lay scattered across the floor. To most people it looked like expensive garbage. To Minho, it looked like opportunity. "What are you doing?" Hana asked as he began sorting through the debris. "Something the aliens haven't tried," he replied, pulling out a length of superconducting cable. "They're trying to fix their system according to the manual, but sometimes you have to throw the manual out the window." He grabbed a plasma welder from his toolkit and began connecting seemingly incompatible components. Her Zilkari neural processing unit, designed for their tentacled nervous systems, got wired to a human-made power regulator. A Corvani environmental sensor found itself linked to a backup communications array. "Minho, that's not going to work," Hana protested. "Those systems aren't compatible. Different species, different technologies, different operating principles." "Exactly," he grinned. "The aliens keep trying to make everything work the way it's supposed to work. But what if we make it work the way it's not supposed to work?" The quantum core pulsed more violently, and the entire chamber shook. Warning alarms added their voices to the growing symphony of disaster. Through the chamber's reinforced windows, they could see more maintenance robots racing through the corridors, their mechanical limbs sparking as they tried to keep up with the spreading failures. Minho's improvised device looked like something a child might build from spare parts. Cables snaked between components in patterns that would make any engineer cringe. But as he connected the final wire, something unexpected happened. The chaotic fluctuations in the quantum core began to stabilize. Not completely, but enough to notice. "How is that possible?" Hana stared at her readings in disbelief. "Your device shouldn't be able to interface with the core at all." "Because I'm not trying to interface with it properly," Minho explained. "The alien systems keep trying to impose order on chaos. But sometimes chaos is exactly what you need." His jury-rigged device was creating random interference patterns that actually helped counteract the core's instability. It was like fighting fire with fire, using one form of disorder to cancel out another. A Corvani engineer's voice crackled over the emergency channel. "Impossible. Human methods show no logical foundation. System should fail." "Tell that to the quantum core," Minho replied, watching as the red pulses gradually gave way to more stable blue light. But even as his improvised solution bought them precious time, alarms continued to sound throughout the station. The quantum core was stabilizing, but dozens of other systems were still failing. And somewhere in the lower levels, 200 researchers waited in the dark, counting on human stubbornness to see them through the impossible odds. Hana looked at him with a mixture of admiration and amazement. "What do we do now?" Minho shouldered his toolkit and headed for the chamber exit. "Now we get creative." The maintenance tunnels beneath Deck 12 were a maze of twisted metal and sparking cables. Minho crawled through spaces barely wide enough for his shoulders, dragging a collection of salvaged components behind him. Hana followed close behind, her scanner beeping constantly as it tracked the failing systems throughout the station. "Life support is down to 30% in the research labs," she reported. "Jinwoo says the blast doors are still sealed tight. The emergency override isn't responding." Minho paused at an intersection where 3 tunnels met. The walls were lined with alien technology that hummed and sparked in patterns he'd never seen before. "What about manual release?" "The Corvani designed those doors to withstand a direct meteor strike. They weigh about 50 tons each and need hydraulic pressure that we don't have." "Then we make our own pressure," Minho said, studying the maze of pipes and conduits around them. His communicator crackled. "Minho, this is Jinwoo. I've got teams positioned at 6 different blast door locations. But our cutting tools aren't even scratching the surface. These doors are built like vault walls." Security Chief Jinwoo had been a soldier before joining the station crew. If anyone could organize a rescue operation under impossible conditions, it was him. But even military precision couldn't cut through alien super-alloys with standard equipment. "Hold your positions," Minho replied. "I've got an idea." He began connecting pipes and valves in a pattern that would have horrified any certified engineer. The station's atmospheric recycling system ran through these tunnels, designed by the Zelkari to process air for multiple species with different breathing requirements. Their elegant solution used biochemical filters and pressure gradients to maintain perfect atmospheric balance. Minho's solution was considerably less elegant. "You're going to flood the hydraulic lines with pressurized atmosphere," Hana realized, watching him work. "That's completely insane. The pressure differentials alone could rupture half the station." "Not if we do it right," Minho grunted, wrestling with a stubborn coupling. "The Zelkari over-engineered everything. Their safety margins are huge. We can push these systems way past their normal limits." Above them, the station shuddered as another system failed. Through the thin walls, they could hear maintenance robots racing through the corridors, their mechanical voices calling out status reports in various alien languages. The robots were doing exactly what they were programmed to do, following their protocols perfectly. But their programming couldn't adapt to situations their creators had never imagined. "Jinwoo, I'm going to send pressure pulses through the emergency hydraulic system," Minho announced over the comm. "When I give the signal, your teams need to manually trigger the door releases simultaneously. The timing has to be perfect." "Understood. But are you sure this will work?" "No," Minho admitted. "But it's better than waiting for the air to run out." He connected the final coupling and stepped back. His improvised pressure system looked like something built by a mad scientist. Atmospheric recycling units fed into water processing pipes, which connected to waste management pumps, which somehow linked back to the hydraulic door controls. It violated every safety protocol and engineering principle in the Galactic Handbook. It was purely, uniquely human. "Pressure building," Hana reported. "The atmospheric processors are running at 200% capacity. The Zelkari systems are screaming warnings in 17 different languages." "Let them scream," Minho said. Jinwoo, are your teams ready? Ready at all 6 locations, standing by for your signal. The pressure gauges climbed steadily. Red warning. Lights flashed throughout the tunnel system as safety protocols tried to shut down the overpressurized lines. But Minho had bypassed the safety systems with more creative wiring, forcing them to keep running despite their protests. A Corvani maintenance drone appeared at the tunnel entrance, its scanner array focused on Minho's jury-rigged contraption. It chattered in rapid electronic beeps, clearly identifying the setup as a safety violation. Then it tried to begin emergency shutdown procedures. "Not today, buddy," Minho said, pulling a handful of circuit boards from the drone's access panel. The robot froze mid-motion, its optical sensors blinking in confusion. "Pressure at maximum," Hana announced. "If we don't release it soon, something's going to explode. Jinwoo, execute on my mark. 3, 2, 1, mark." The entire station seemed to hold its breath for a moment. Then 6 massive blast doors throughout the lower levels suddenly groaned and began to move. 50 tons of alien superalloy sliding open with the screech of protesting metal. "Doors are opening." Jinwoo's voice carried barely controlled excitement. "All 6 locations report success. Teams are moving in to evacuate the researchers now." Minho sat back against the tunnel wall, exhausted but triumphant. Around him, his improvised pressure system vented excess atmosphere in controlled bursts, the various alien components working together in ways their designers had never intended. "How did you know that would work?" Hana asked. "I didn't," he replied, honestly. "But humans have been jury-rigging solutions since before we learned to make fire. When your technology isn't advanced enough to solve the problem properly, you solve it improperly." Through the comm system, they could hear Jinwoo's teams coordinating the evacuation. 200 researchers were finally breathing freely again, saved by human ingenuity and a complete disregard for proper engineering procedures. But the station wasn't safe yet. The quantum core was still unstable, and dozens of systems continued to fail throughout Horizon 7. The quantum core chamber felt like standing inside a dying star. Warning lights bathed everything in angry red as the massive crystalline sphere pulsed erratically in its containment field. Each pulse sent shockwaves through the station's superstructure, and Minho could feel the vibrations in his bones. "Core stability at 12% and falling," Hana announced, her voice tight with fear. "The containment field is fluctuating. If it fails completely, the quantum reaction will tear the station apart." Minho studied the alien control systems surrounding the core. Banks of holographic displays showed cascading failures across every major system. The Corvani computers were running millions of calculations per second, trying every possible solution in their vast databases, but every algorithm led to the same conclusion. Total system failure was inevitable. "The evacuation ships are requesting permission to withdraw to a safe distance." Jinwoo's voice crackled over the comm. "They're afraid the quantum explosion will catch them in the blast radius." "Tell them to stay close," Minho replied, pulling open an access panel he'd never seen before. "We're going to need their help when this is over." Inside the panel, fiber optic cables pulsed with data streams that carried the thoughts of a dozen different artificial intelligences. Each AI was a masterpiece of alien engineering, capable of processing information in ways that would boggle human minds. But they were all failing because they could only think in the ways they'd been programmed to think. "Minho, what are you doing?" Hana watched in horror as he began disconnecting the primary processing units. "You're shutting down the automated systems. The core needs constant monitoring to maintain stability." "The automated systems are what's causing the problem," he replied, his hands working quickly to bypass safety protocols. "They're trying to solve this like a math equation. But some problems can't be solved with math." The station shuddered more violently as another system failed. Through the chamber's reinforced windows, they could see maintenance robots racing through the corridors in perfect formation, following their emergency protocols with mechanical precision. But their precision was part of the problem. They were so focused on following the rules that they couldn't see solutions that existed outside the rules. "Core stability at 8%, Hana reported. "Minho, if you're going to do something, it has to be now." He pulled out a length of neural interface cable, the kind used to connect human brains directly to computer systems. It was dangerous. Technology, banned on most worlds because of the risk of permanent brain damage. But it was also the only way to manually interface with the quantum core's control systems. "Oh, you can't be serious," Hana breathed. "Direct neural interface with an unstable quantum system. The feedback could kill you." "Maybe," Minho admitted, connecting the cable to the core's primary control node. "But sitting here doing nothing will definitely kill all of us." He pressed the neural interface against his temple and felt the alien technology surge into his consciousness. Suddenly, he wasn't just observing the quantum core's behavior. He was experiencing it. Every fluctuation, every pulse, every quantum state change flowed through his mind like a symphony of pure energy. The alien AIs had been trying to force the core back into its original stable configuration. They saw chaos and tried to impose order. But as Minho's consciousness merged with the quantum system, he realized something the computers had missed. The chaos wasn't random. It had a pattern, a rhythm that reminded him of something deeply human. It was like jazz music, improvised and unpredictable, but following its own internal logic. "Stability dropping to 5%, Hana warned. "Whatever you're going to do it fast." Instead of fighting the quantum fluctuations, Minho began to dance with them. Where the alien systems tried to suppress each chaotic pulse, he amplified it in specific ways. Where they attempted to restore order, he introduced controlled chaos. He wasn't solving the problem. He was becoming part of it. The quantum core's angry red pulses began to shift. Instead of random chaos, they started following a new pattern. Not the rigid stability the aliens had programmed, but something more fluid and dynamic, like a jazz musician finding harmony in dissonance. "Incredible," whispered Dr. Kesahai over the comm system. The Corvani medical officer was monitoring from the evacuation ships. "The human is achieving quantum coherence through intentional discord. Our mathematical models show this should be impossible." "Tell that to the core," Jinwoo replied. Through the station's external cameras, they could see the quantum core's light beginning to stabilize, not in the perfect blue glow the aliens had designed, but in a new pattern of shifting colors that somehow maintained perfect balance. "Core stability rising," Hana announced in amazement. 15%, 20, 25. The containment field is holding. Around them, the station's systems began coming back online. Life support resumed normal operations. The light stopped flickering. The constant vibration that had shaken the station for hours finally ceased. Minho disconnected the neural interface and slumped against the control panel, exhausted but alive. The quantum core continued its new dance of controlled chaos, more stable than it had ever been under the alien systems. "How?" Hana asked. "How did you know that would work?" "Because," Minho said with a tired smile, "sometimes the best way to solve an impossible problem is to stop trying to solve it the right way." The first evacuation shuttle docked with Horizon 7 exactly 43 minutes after the quantum core stabilized. Captain Veltar of the Zelkari rescue vessel emerged from the airlock. His tentacles moving in patterns that Minho had learned meant extreme confusion. "The readings we're getting from your station are impossible," the captain announced, his large, black eyes reflecting the now steady blue glow of the corridor lights. "Our sensors show quantum coherence patterns that violate 17 different laws of physics." Minho wiped grease from his hands with a rag. "Sometimes you have to break a few laws to save a few lives." Through the station's viewing ports, they could see a small fleet of alien vessels approaching. Word had spread quickly through the galactic network about the human engineer who had saved Horizon 7 using methods that no computer could understand. Ships from a dozen different species were arriving to witness the impossible repairs firsthand. "Jinwoo, status report on the evacuees," Commander Gina requested over the comm system. "All 200 researchers accounted for and in good health," came the reply. "The Corvani medical team is running full examinations, but everyone checks out fine. Dr. Yan from the astrophysics lab says they barely lost any research data. The emergency power systems you jury-rigged kept their equipment running the whole time." In the quantum core chamber, alien engineers from multiple species gathered around Minho's improvised stabilization system. They scanned it with every instrument. They took detailed holographic recordings and ran countless tests. but none of them could explain why it worked. "The probability calculations are fascinating," muttered Dr. Thexvar, an elderly Corvani scientist whose scales had turned silver with age. "Your solution had a 0.003% chance of success, according to our mathematical models. Yet here we are. Human engineering doesn't rely much on probability," Hannah explained as she helped Minho pack up his tools. "We tend to make things work through stubbornness and creative thinking." A group of maintenance robots rolled past them, their mechanical arms carefully documenting every connection and modification Minho had made. These robots belonged to the Galactic Engineering Council, the most prestigious technical organization in known space. They had arrived within hours of receiving reports about the impossible repairs. "Engineer Minho," called out Councillor Zekai, the head of the Engineering Council. The tall, insectoid alien approached with clicks and whistles that his translator rendered into standard galactic speech. "We would like to formally request that you demonstrate your techniques to our technical teams." "What techniques?" Minho laughed. "I just grabbed whatever was lying around and tried to make it work." "Precisely," the counselor replied. "Our species rely on predetermined solutions and established protocols, but your approach involves real-time adaptation and creative problem-solving. We believe this could revolutionize emergency response procedures throughout the galaxy." So over the following days, Horizon 7 became the most visited research station in the sector. Engineers from dozens of worlds arrived to study Minho's modifications. The quantum core's new stability pattern became known as the Minho configuration, a term that made him laugh every time he heard it. "The humans have given us a new perspective on crisis management," announced Admiral Kesrin during a live broadcast to the Galactic Council. The Corvani military leader stood before representatives from hundreds of worlds, explaining how human intuition had succeeded where advanced alien technology had failed. Their ability to improvise solutions in real time could save countless lives across our colonies. The changes came quickly. Space stations throughout the galaxy began installing human response protocols alongside their traditional automated systems. Engineering teams started including at least one human specialist trained in creative problem-solving. The rigid, by-the-book approach that had dominated galactic engineering for centuries suddenly seemed outdated. "I still can't believe this is happening," Minho said to Hannah, as they watched another group of alien engineers studying his jury-rigged pressure system. 6 months ago, most aliens thought humans were too primitive for serious engineering work. Now they're naming engineering techniques after you," she replied. "The University of Veltara wants to offer you a teaching position. The Zelkari have invited you to redesign their emergency protocols, and the Corvani are asking you to consult on their next generation of space habitats." Commander Gina approached them with a data pad in her hands. "The Galactic Engineering Council has officially adopted your crisis response methods as standard protocol for all emergency situations. They're calling it the Human Initiative Doctrine." Minho looked out at the stars through the station's main viewport. Just a few days ago, he had been a maintenance engineer on a remote research station. Now his name was being spoken in alien languages across the galaxy, his unconventional methods studied by the greatest minds in known space. "So what's next?" Hannah asked. "Next," Minho said with a grin, "we figure out how to make their impossible technology even more impossible." The quantum core pulsed gently in its chamber, its chaotic harmony a testament to human ingenuity and the power of thinking outside established parameters. Across the galaxy, other engineers were learning to embrace controlled chaos, to find solutions in places their computers said solutions couldn't exist. Humanity had found its place among the stars, not through superior technology or advanced mathematics, but through the simple human ability to look at an impossible problem and say, "Let's try something different." The end.